Previously on Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, Challenge Mode. And now, our first of many visits to Olympus. Hello everybody! CSF Watson back here again. Last time on Challenge Mode we completed Deep Jungle, and now we are off to Olympus Coliseum. We'll add it to the world map right quick, but we're actually not going to disembark just yet. We are going to make our way back to Traverse Town. There are a few story things we can do in Traverse Town that will actually not only help progress the story, but also get us a few extra items to make travel a bit easier. It will also be nice because, unlike future Kingdom Hearts games, Moogle shops are not scattered across the world, so the only place to buy items like potions and ethers and things like that are back here in Traverse Town. And up until we complete this particular segment, getting back here just to get items was too much of a pain just to fly from world to world. But thankfully, once we do complete this next segment, we will gain access to the gummy menu as well as the warp gummy, which means we can warp from world to world, saving us a ton of time. But first, after getting that chest, we've also got a new trinity that we learned in one of the previous worlds, and now we can pass through these obstacles and get some hidden chests. This is one of the charming things I like about Kingdom Hearts, just the goofiness they have the main characters do, like just run into each other, that'll totally break the door down. And of course they'll try it again moments later when it comes time to head over to the waterway. I think the general mindset is that they took the passageway inside Merlin's house to get down there, but I just think it's hilarious to think like there are only two ways into this secret place. How did Leon and Aerith get down there unless they went to Merlin's first? The only explanation I can think of, other than just, oh, they went to Merlin's, is that they physically can open and close the gate, but they just chose not to, and then Sordon and Goofy were just like, this is the only way, break it down! Another quick manga anecdote, this part of the story is where we first meet Aerith in the manga. As we saw in the earlier episode, we meet the entire Traverse Town Final Fantasy crew in the first visit, but in the manga you meet Leon, Sid, and Yuffie on the first visit, but then you don't meet Aerith until this point. After completing Wonderland in the manga, you come back here and that's how you first meet her there. She introduced herself by serving tea to the group, which Leon declined, and there's a funny gag strip at the end of the first volume where Leon says like, I'm good, thanks, and Aerith chastises him for it, and he says like, well, I'd accept, but you put so much sugar in it, and I think that's just really funny. But with a few more conversations, we'll be able to get everything we need to progress the story. We talk to Leon about a gummy block, and he is stumped, which then will point us back in the direction of Sid, which will point us in the direction of Merlin, which will point us in the direction of the continuing story. And in tandem, we are also going to get our first summon item. We do have to trigger the Merlin cutscene before we can get it, but outside of Tinkerbell, I've never really used summons in this game. I know they're super busted, but to me it's also part of the challenge. The most I've ever used summons in a Kingdom Hearts game on the regular is when I had to spam Ariel in some of the data bosses and against Yozora in Kingdom Hearts 3. But outside of that, I never really actively use any of the summons. But the chest that we just opened, revealing some of the Dalmatians, I forget if I talked about this at all during the initial Traverse Town exploration. I don't believe I did. That is something that you can do to get extra items and things like that throughout the game. Find all 99 Dalmatians scattered across the world, get mostly nothing but gummies, but collect them all and you get the best upgrade to the arrow spell you could ever get. And I always at least try to do this side quest whenever I play through Kingdom Hearts 1 because Aeroga is really good. It's always a trick to figure out which ones I'm missing though, because the strategy guide I currently own in book form is for the original American release of the game, not the final mix. And something I don't think a whole lot of folks know about the differences, but most of, if not all, the items in treasure chests got shifted around in all the worlds throughout this game when the final mix version came out. I know they also fixed a few bugs. There's an infamous glitch where if you miss a trinity inside the Oogie Boogie Manor, you can't get that particular item and then you can't complete Jiminy's Journal in the PS2 version, but then they added a fix for the trinity limit. Nothing like that. It's more, if you climb to the top of Hollow Bastion and open a treasure chest in the original that had a high potion, in Final Mix it might actually just have a Mithril Shard instead. I've only ever played the original once on the PS2, and even though I could go through my guide and basically say, oh, this is what this chest says it's supposed to be, but as I open it here, bada bing, bada boom, it's not that. I'm sure there are definitely guides on the Kingdom Hearts wiki that already point out which chests are which in both versions for the sake of the players. But now we've gone from talking about gummies to now talking about a book we need to deliver. The funny gag in the manga is that Donald thinks it's a love diary, but now we have the old book and are ready to deliver it to Merlin. And the bells are telling us that there's an optional boss fight that we can take on, but we're gonna save that for after we complete Olympus. Just get some more extra levels under our belt. Now it's time to start making our way over to Merlin's house to deliver the book. The manga is pretty much beat for beat with this one, but like I said, it's a bit funnier the way that the characters react the first time they see the book. But as we make our way over to Merlin's house, on our way we fought some easy Heartless, but they kinda snuck up and got me with another death, so add that to the tally. Man, I can't wait until I get Leaf Bracer. But until that time, all we can do now is just try again. And with that, we finally clear out the Heartless, and we can make our way to Merlin's. I believe you can visit Merlin during the first visit if you just cast a fire spell on the door. You just don't have access to the 100 Acre Wood book. But the main thing I remember about going into the house the first time I ever played this stage on the PS2 was it's not super hard to do the platforming across these stones here, but I also remember it was so dark when I first played this on the PS2, I was just like, what the heck? I can't see anything. Where am I supposed to go? Am I just supposed to swim across? No, I can't get up there. How do I do this, that, the other? Although once I figured it out, it wasn't that hard to do it over and over again, and the HD remixes did help with the visual aspect of it since it's not as dark as the original.
There's something about this musty place. It reminds me of the secret place back home, where we used to scribble on the walls. Remember?
Kairi?
Sora?
Well, well indeed. This was done a lot funnier in the manga. Instead of Donald and Goofy snapping Sora out of the trance with Kairi, Merlin literally crashes through the wall, and that's what snaps Sora out of his little trance seeing Kairi. But after the introductions, the scene pretty much plays out the exact same between the manga and the game. The only difference is, in the game, once Merlin sets up his room, you can come back here to practice magic and things like that, whereas in the manga, Merlin says, I'm here to teach you magic, because the king asked me to, and then he never shows up again until Kingdom Hearts 2. In tandem with the parallels, one thing I didn't talk about with Deep Jungle, while it wasn't in the manga, I didn't realize it was required to complete before you could go back to Traverse Town and unlock these next few story bits. It makes sense since that world is where you will learn the Red Trinity, but in the manga, once you complete Wonderland, you head straight back to Traverse Town and learn about the keyholes. So me only knowing the manga, I assumed if I go to Wonderland and then back to Traverse Town, I would get those story elements. But that was not the case. So I had to waste time traveling to Traverse Town, then back to Wonderland, then on to Deep Jungle just to try to get the story to progress because I was just like, oh my gosh, why can't I get these story elements from the manga? And since I couldn't access these story elements, I couldn't get access to the gummy menu, so as a result, I couldn't flipping teleport to the next segment, and that meant I had to fly super slowly to each segment. But as I'm saying that, we have the Fairy Godmother, her first appearance in the series. She doesn't appear in the manga at all, and unless they do the DLC from Kingdom Hearts 3 in the Kingdom Hearts 3 manga, I don't see her making an appearance anytime soon. I'm going to save my general experience with Cinderella for when I get to Birth by Sleep, but for Merlin, I never knew that Disney had made a Sword in the Stone movie, but one of my grandparents had a couple of old Donald Duck comics, and in those comics they had a series that was actually a comic retelling of the movie. It was done in a style similar to daily comic strips like Peanuts, but it was all in one collection, and you had to turn the comic on its side in order to read it, so it was kind of interesting. I don't remember if I had read that comic first or if I had read the Kingdom Hearts 1 manga first, so I don't remember if I recognized Merlin from the manga or from the comic. Either or, I was just like, oh, neat. As for Winnie the Pooh, well, I've got a lot more experience with that compared to most other Disney properties. I'll talk about it more in a separate video, probably when I compile all the different 100 Acre Wood minigames together. But for now, we've got our first summon gem to get. I said it before, I'll say it again, I don't really use summons that much. We've got Simba now, I never use him. I think the most I used Simba as a summon was one time in Kingdom Hearts 3 just to get the summon trophy. The summons in Kingdom Hearts 1 does lead to a really hilarious joke in Kingdom Hearts 2's manga, but I'll touch on that once we reach that particular world in Kingdom Hearts 2. For now though, we've seen Merlin, we've delivered the book, time to run across an old friend.
There you are. What's going on?
Riku!
Hey, cut it out.
I'm not dreaming this time. Right?
I hope not. Took forever to find you.
Riku! Wait a second, where's Kairi?
Isn't she with you? Well, don't worry. I'm sure she made it off the island too. We're finally free. Hey, she might even be looking for us now. We'll all be together again soon. Don't worry. Just leave everything to me. I know this...
Leave it to who?
Sora, what did you...
I've been looking for you, and Kairi too, with their help.
Who are they?
We've visited so many places and worlds, looking for you.
Really? Well, what do you know? I never would have guessed.
Oh, and guess what? Sora's the Keyblade Master.
Who would have thought it?
What's that mean?
So, this is called a Keyblade?
Huh? Hey, give it back!
Catch.
Whoa. Okay, so you're coming with us, right? We've got this awesome rocket. Wait till you see it.
No, he can't come.
What?
Forget it.
Oh, come on. He's my friend.
I don't care.
Oh, he's gone.
Riku? Nice going. Oh well. At least he's okay. And who knows? Maybe we'll run into Kairi soon too.
I want to talk about this previous scene in a bit, but first we gotta go to this old house and catch up with the Final Fantasy characters. I was so glad that I had the strategy guide to check this, because if you go back to the accessory shop, Cid's not there, and then you're running around like, where is he, where is he? I didn't even know that this was an explorable room at first until I played this for the first time. Luckily I know where to go now and we can get a little bit more backstory on the Final Fantasy characters. This scene is almost beat for beat in the manga as well, but it touches a bit more on the darker aspects of the fact that Maleficent straight up invaded their world and left the Final Fantasy characters homeless. Cid was the one who found Aerith, Yuffie, and Leon and helped raise them in Traverse Town. It was kind of insane. But also a difference from the manga, they introduced the Ansem report in the very first visit to Traverse Town. Here, this is the first we're hearing of it because most of the worlds don't have Ansem's report until you get to Agrabah. And in the manga they have to decode it, which leads to another funny strip, which I will share in the future.
You see, it's just as I told you. While you toiled away trying to find your dear friend, he quite simply replaced you with some new companions. Evidently, now he values them far more than he does you. You're better off without that wretched boy. Now think no more of him and come with me. I'll help you find what you're searching for.
I alluded to this a little bit in my Destiny Islands episode, but this scene in particular does hit home for me personally due to some stuff related to Riku and Sora's friendship that happened to me in real life. Not exactly in the sense of, oh, you have new friends? Well then you clearly don't care about me anymore. But rather in the sense that Riku heard something from someone else, and then that's now influencing his actions and how he treats his old friends. For the sake of privacy, I'm going to refer to my former friend as Anakin. Anakin was basically like a brother to me throughout all of high school and a few years of my college career. Anakin used to be somebody who was willing to listen to multiple sides of an argument and listen to other people's opinions. But then they started talking to somebody else who influenced them and said, you should just believe what you believe, and anybody who doesn't agree with you unconditionally, then they never truly supported you on the onset. Anakin had some self-centered tendencies even when we were still best friends, but this expedited and expanded it, resulting in us no longer being friends. I have a lot more to talk about, but for now, we've got a character that we can meet in the accessory shop that we can actually completely miss until we run into him in another world.
Well, as I live and breathe, if it isn't Pinocchio.
Oh, hi, Jiminy.
What in the world are you doing down here?
Playing hide and seek.
I just don't believe it. And here I was, up all night just worried sick about you. Why, of all the Pinocchio?
In the manga, you don't meet Pinocchio until you reach Monstro, and that's when Jiminy introduces him. But in the game, as we'll see later, when you come across Monstro, you run into Pinocchio, and the characters are acting like they've already met him. That's another kind of problem with the original version of Kingdom Hearts. There's a lot of optional stuff you could miss in terms of the story, and then there's not really any programming to sort of circumvent missing that optional thing, like Pinocchio here. Pinocchio doesn't really do much here other than just add a bit of story and tease the Monstro stage. Like I said, you can completely miss him, so he's not really consequential. You don't even get really any items from meeting him for the first time. So I'm just gonna let the rest of this cutscene roll and then we'll move on to the gummy menu. And now that we reminded ourselves that there were 3 separate Pinocchio movies in 2022 alone, we can go on to the gummy menu. Oh my gosh, the gummy menu. It helps make the ship faster and makes a lot of the later game segments a bit more tolerable, but the menu in which you customize your gummy ship is an absolute mess. That's why I usually go for the blueprints of gummy ships in future Kingdom Hearts games. And there are blueprints in this game as well, but I just sort of generally go with this one because it's easier to slap stuff together and create a monstrosity than it is to try and trust the technical abilities of blueprints in this game, in my opinion. But I had to flipping cut out 8 to 10 minutes of content from this video because it takes so flipping long to work with this gummy menu. This is the normal gummy ship, and now this is what we're working with after the fact. Yes, it's ugly, but it works, so that's all that matters. We've got ourselves a block of a ship, and now we can head off to our next world, which is also the most repeated world in all of Kingdom Hearts, Olympus. And since we got the Warp G, we can now do this! I am glad that this feature was removed from future Kingdom Hearts games because it is kind of cumbersome that even if you do have the warp, you have to physically travel to each of the Disney worlds. And speaking of which, a great place to get EXP and level up, even if you constantly lose, because technically you don't die and keep all the EXP you gain. I was really shocked to find out that there was no Colosseum without mods in Kingdom Hearts 3. That was kind of a bummer. But there are Colosseum games here, and we get to compete in them. But first, we gotta talk to an old goat and get some extra items here and there. The only other time that Olympus Coliseum is this bare bones in terms of the amount of rooms you can explore is 358 Days Over 2. Birth by Sleep at least added the small town just below the arena, Kingdom Hearts 2 added the underworld, Recoded had the entire gauntlet of the labyrinth. Even though Kingdom Hearts 3 had the same characters living in the same world, it was the biggest departure and change from the previous Olympus Coliseums in all the other Kingdom Hearts games. But that's neither here nor there. We've got ourselves a story to progress, so as we head into the vestibule, we've got ourselves... There he is, good old Phil. Let's see what he's up to, shall we?
Good timing. Give me a hand, will you? Move that pedestal over there for me. I gotta spruce this place up for the games.
I would need to look this up, but I know that Danny DeVito didn't voice Phil for Kingdom Hearts, but I don't know if he ever voiced Phil again outside the movie, or if Disney just got the guy who voices Phil here.
It's way too heavy.
What? Too heavy? Since when have you been such a little... Oh, wrong guy. What are you doing here? This here's the world-famous Coliseum, heroes only. And I got my hands full preparing for the games, so run along, pipsqueaks. Look, it's like this. Heroes are coming from all over to fight ferocious monsters right here in the Coliseum.
You've got heroes standing right in front of you.
Yup, he's a real hero chosen by the Keyblade.
And we're heroes too.
Hero? That grunt?
What's so funny? I fought a bunch of monsters.
Hey, if you can't even move this, you can't call yourself a hero? Yeah. Okay, so it takes more than brawn. Well, let's see what you can do.
And now we begin an age-old tradition in Kingdom Hearts. You want to train? Hit the barrels! I'm not even entirely sure why. I saw this movie once, and I don't think there was barrels anywhere. I know there was training obstacles and things like that, but the barrels? This is a weird one. I guess maybe they just wanted to not build any extra rooms more than they had to, and because of that we just got this, and since they already had a destroyable object in the barrels, they just ran with it. The manga actually does have Sora and company doing other forms of training other than just doing the barrel stuff. And they actually get to meet Hercules before the games. All that's left now is just to destroy these few barrels, so let's just jump ahead to the end.
You know, you ain't bad, kid.
Looks like I'm headed for the games.
Afraid not.
Why not?
2 words. You guys ain't heroes.
Come on.
Ah yes, Thunder. One of, if not the most busted spell in just about all the Kingdom Hearts games once it gets up to Thundaga.
Rather a stubborn old goat, wouldn't you say?
Who are you?
Oh, hey, hold on there, Fuzzboy. Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right? Well then, hey, get a load of this.
A pass?
It's all yours. Good luck, kid. I'm pulling for you, little shorty.
I don't know why, but of all the original cast of the movie, James Woods is the only one they got to come back. They didn't even get the original voice actor for Hercules back until Kingdom Hearts 2. They got Sean Astin, the guy who played Samwise Gamgee in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, to voice Hercules for this game. I looked up his filmography and his other records in gaming or TV, and I couldn't find him doing any other version of Hercules. This is the only time he's voiced Hercules, and it was just for Kingdom Hearts 1. I'm not even sure why the original guy couldn't do it. As far as I could tell, he was still voicing Hercules in House of Mouse spin-offs. Not getting Danny DeVito back? That makes sense. He's a big movie star. But not getting the original voice actor for Hercules? And you also get James Woods? I'm not sure. But that doesn't really matter at this point. We are on to the games as we continue to get EXP and prepare for a fight with this guy. Much like the other Final Fantasy characters, I honestly believe that Cloud was a Kingdom Hearts original character when I first read the manga. Like I said before, I never played or even heard of Final Fantasy, so that was my automatic assumption. Ever since then, I have obviously become more aware of Final Fantasy, and while I have yet to completely beat Final Fantasy VII as a whole, I might try to do it for this channel, it does seem a bit overrated. I haven't beat it, so I can't give it a full, fair review of my overall opinion of it, but from what I played, it's just, I wouldn't say it's bad, but like I mentioned earlier, I still need to beat it before I can give it a full, fair review. It's just, sometimes I have no idea where I'm going. You're supposed to go to a certain location, but the entire map looks the same, so I'm not sure where that location is. I've also never really been the biggest fan of turn-based RPGs. They always felt so slow, I was waiting for something to happen, and the stats always felt unbalanced. Dragon Quest IX is probably my favorite of all the turn-based RPGs I've ever played, but even then, I would always get ticked off that the boss would do 3 straight attacks at my weakest player, and then I'd suddenly die and I can't heal. I just felt like I had no control over what was happening on screen. And that's why I gravitated towards games like Kingdom Hearts or The Legend of Zelda. Even though I might still rage and get upset that I feel like I got jobbed because the game gave me a bad roll of the data, I could still somewhat accept it because for the most part, it happened because either I did something wrong or I went a bit too unhinged against certain enemies. Like so against some of the Heartless we saw earlier, I might have gone a bit too crazy with trying to just beat them up with the Keyblade instead of trying to use ranged magic to keep them at a distance. Yet, like I talked about with my Deep Jungle episode, since I did that world first, I've got a lot more EXP to work with when fighting these Heartless, so these guys will go down pretty easily. We'll take out these few and then we'll cut on ahead to the next round.
Nothing to it.
That little punk is your next opponent, okay? Now don't blow it. Just take him out.
The great god of the underworld is afraid of a kid? Sorry, but my contract says...
I know! You think I don't know? I wrote the contract! I know it says you're only required to kill Hercules in this tournament. But you gotta fight that kid to get to him. Come on. Hey, it's like that old goat says. Rule number 11. It's all just a game. So let loose and have fun with it. I mean, a casualty or two along the way. It's no big deal, right? Jeez. Stiffer than the stiffs back home. Still, suckers like him are hard to come by.
Yes, there was an extra fight I cut out, but it's more heartless, and thematically this makes a lot more sense. I know that the report said that apparently originally the plan was to have Vincent Valentine, one of the optional party members from Final Fantasy VII, be the character that you fight here in Olympus Coliseum. That's why Cloud has that red cape. And I've also seen some people talk about how they say, oh, this is the reason why Cloud's always emo now, why he acts like this. He wasn't like this in the original game. Well, having played what I have of the original Final Fantasy VII, Cloud always seemed kind of emo to me. Granted, that probably is because I'm more used to this version of Cloud, and since I have played Final Fantasy VII Remake, that's just what I've become accustomed to, but at the same time, Cloud never felt like one of your traditional happy-go-lucky protagonists. He always felt more like a character who was distant from the world. He didn't know his place. And because of that, that's the way he acts in this game, and that's the way he acts in Final Fantasy VII Remake. And the biggest reason why I don't necessarily feel as attached to Cloud as some other people do, I am not nostalgic for Cloud. Like I said, I've only played Final Fantasy VII a few years ago and I haven't beaten it, and this was my first experience with the character. As cool as it was to see him join Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, I was still pining like heck for Sora. Don't get me wrong, I was excited to see Cloud in Smash. Of all the DLC characters that got released for Smash 4, he was the one I was the most excited to see. But at the same time, he wasn't a character that I was just absolutely dying to see in Smash Bros. If it came down to keep one, lose the other between Cloud and Sora for the next Smash game, I'm picking Sora every time.
Right, there was one other rule. I forgot. Accident happened.
One thing I forgot to mention, even though Cloud is one of the bosses you can win or lose against and it doesn't affect the story, in the manga, Sora just straight up loses. No ifs, ands, or buts. Kind of interesting that the either victory or defeat bosses in all of Kingdom Hearts 1 are both losses for Sora within the manga. But with that out of the way, we can now take on Cerberus.
Kid, I got 2 words of advice for you. Attack!
So many people make these power scaling lists of, oh, this character fought this type of monster, this character fought this type of monster, but they don't bring up the fact that Sora has literally fought demons, gods, and so many other powerful characters that for the most part he should be on a tier list for some of the most powerful characters in all of fiction. Also, as we're fighting Cerberus, something I haven't really talked about much before, but interestingly enough, I actually do have a slight phobia of dogs. Yeah, I don't really like being around them, they kinda make me nervous. I can generally survive being in the same room with them so long as they don't bother me, but definitely if they start getting up in my business, that's when I'm just like, okay, leave me alone guys, leave me alone, ah! This is due to the fact that years ago when I was really little, I personally have no memory of this, but I was visiting my Grammy in Toledo and she had a dog, and I was playing with a little toy and it bounced away from me. It bounced just inside the eyesight of the dog, and since it was bouncing and moving, the dog immediately decided to charge it and try to take it for itself, knocking me over. I don't remember if the dog tried to fight me for the toy or if it just knocked me over. All I know is that that memory has stuck in my head, and ever since then I have not liked dogs. My family did own a dog for a few years though, mostly because my younger brother really wanted one. We did make a compromise. To accommodate both for my dislike of dogs as well as for my mother's allergies to dogs, we confined the dog to solely the kitchen and the backyard. That was it. And there was also, we had a crate for the dog in the basement, where if it was storming outside and the dog was freaking out, we could store him down there, or if we had a lot of guests over, it would be better to store the dog in the basement rather than try to have the dog messing with everybody if they needed to get into the kitchen. And that dog barked at every single door knock. Even the lightest tap would just set it off. It was absolutely insane. The main saving grace for me at least was the fact that that dog was not exactly a very active dog. It didn't try to do too much. It was very relaxed, it never really jumped up on people. Outside of people knocking at the door, it kinda just minded its own business. Which was good for me because I definitely did not want to bother him. But this dog is finally done and we have completed Olympus. Or at least, the required story for Olympus.
Thus, I do hereby dub thee Junior Heroes and confer upon thee full rights and privileges to participate in the games. Further...
Hey, what do you mean, Junior Heroes?
You rookies still don't understand what it takes to be a true hero.
So, what does it take?
Well, that's just something you'll have to find out for yourselves. Just the way that I did.
No problem. We'll start by proving ourselves in the games.
There ain't gonna be any games for a while. Gotta clean up the mess from that last battle first.
Okay, we'll be back.
I still can't believe that Squirt actually beat Cerberus.
Just between us, I'd already worn Cerberus down by the time the little guy jumped in.
My lips are sealed.
And we've got ourselves a hero license, which will unlock tournaments progressively as we go through the game, and we will need to complete all of them if we want to seal the keyhole for this world.
Hey, are you alright?
Yeah.
So, why did you go along with him anyway?
I'm looking for someone. Hades promised to help. I tried to exploit the power of darkness, but it backfired. I fell into darkness, and I couldn't find the light.
You'll find it. I'm searching too.
For your light? Don't lose sight of it.
How about a rematch sometime? Fair and square, no dark powers involved.
I think I'll pass.
He'll pass at least until Super Smash Bros. Ultimate comes along, and then he'll be forced to do a rematch because people will want that fight to happen over and over and over again.
He's strong. He's kind. He's always there for you. And he's handsome to boot. He's perfect. Perfect.
Perfectly infuriating. He makes me crazy.
Wait a minute. What are you worried about? All the pieces are in place. Relax. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here's what you do. Let Hercules train the kid. In the next games, I'll take care of them both. Come. Who invited you to the party? Stay out of this. This is my show.
As you wish. Fight to your heart's content.
And with that, we've cleared Olympus. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.